I believe that we live in the greatest nation in the world. It is the land of free, but there are so many people that are living in the land of free, but they're not free. They are in captivity, and they're comfortable in their captivity. And you know, the Bible talks about that in Isaiah 42. It says that they're sitting in prison houses, and the door is open, but no one will do anything, nor will they say anything. And so I began to look at what is it that causes us to be comfortable in our captivity. And I believe that it starts with complacency. Complacency is where individuals are under the control or you're under the authority of another thing, but you give the appearance of being free. And I believe that in 3 areas that all over America, people are comfortable, but they're not really living the life of freedom. And they're comfortable politically, they're comfortable socially, and they're comfortable economically. And therefore, that comfortableness starts out by being complacent. And when people are complacent, then that complacency moves to a place of apathy. And apathy is without feeling. And when it moves to a place where people don't really care what's happening, then apathy leads to secularism. And it's essentially where there is a separation between a standard or separation of religion versus the way people will live their lives. And then when secularism sets in, then it moves to a place of egocentrism. You know, but the amazing thing about secularism is that it says that all moral values are equally valid. All religious viewpoints are equally valid. All political viewpoints are equally valid. But the challenge about all of those things being equally valid is that there's no way to judge what's right or wrong simply because there is no standard. Anything that you think is okay is okay. And then when that moved to egocentrism, it says it causes individuals to focus on themselves. And people say me, my, I. And it goes to a place where individuals cannot put themselves in other people's shoes. And as a result of it, they do what's right in their own eyesight. Well, one of the things that I've seen is that that the nations, whenever complacency sets into a people, it's very much like cancer. And at one time, Egypt was the most powerful nation in the world. They lost that. Then Babylon became, then Persia became, then Rome became, then England became, and now the United States is the most powerful nation in the world. The real question is not who is the most powerful nation, but who will be the next most powerful nation, simply because those nations were powerful for about 200 years. And we've been the most powerful nation for almost 100 years. And the challenge is that when their complacency sets in and people are comfortable where they are, they stop moving forward, they stop advancing, then complacency sets in. And when that happens, then everyone wants to do what they think is right. And because there is no standard, individuals began to just live for themselves rather than live for the benefit of others. And I believe that President Kennedy used to say that it is not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Well, I believe that that's what has happened. Complacency has really set in, and it destroys potential in a people. It destroys relationships, and complacency also destroys financial positions. I'll give you a perfect example. Whatever occurs on television is considered normal, and ultimately people began to live that out in their lives. So we see what occurred in television in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s. But we're seeing something now where you look at a 1-hour television show, you will see multiple sexually explicit commercials that don't have anything to it. Perhaps they're selling perfume, perhaps they're selling jeans, but it's a very sexual overtone. And what happens is desensitizing the country to the values that it was found on. I believe it was Patrick Henry in the House of Burgesses in 1700s. He addressed them And he says that America was not found on religion, but on Christianity. It was not found by religionists, but it was found on the gospel of Jesus Christ. And because of that, it affords others of religious freedom to come here and exercise their freedom in religion. Every system starts with the family. And I believe that what happens is that families are complacent. People are complacent in relationships. Right now, because of television, people are looking at relationships and focused on romantic fantasies rather than commitment and hard work.
And where did this all come from?
And it comes from television that has given us a model of what relationships should be like. So people don't want commitment that comes with hard work, but you can't do anything without commitment. I believe that the church has a responsibility and a role in it. And is it the fault of the church? I believe that the church has a responsibility. And that is that I believe, particularly politically, that individuals should begin to speak out and voice their opinion as it relates to their standard, their beliefs. And when that standard or that opinion is communicated, then it's communicated in every facet of living, including the polls. And what I find is people effectively go to the polls. They may not know the candidates, and they will vote for individuals that they remember their names, who had the most commercials on television, who had the most negative campaigns. But they don't know what those individuals stand for. And so as a result of that, people are voting, and their voting, it effectively says that their intelligence is being mocked at, simply because people are not becoming intelligent voters, but they are complacent and they go to vote for an individual, but then they vote for a whole group of individuals. And so I believe that it starts with the individual. The church does have a role, and I'm fully persuaded that when the church is silent, then unrighteousness, or let's say it like this, when the church is silent, then the lack of the standard began to scream out, and the enemies of the standard voices become very, very loud. And what we're hearing right now are the voices against the standard being very loud. I agree, and I believe that we can go to, let's say, Judges chapter 17. The Bible says that there was a group of, in the book of Joshua, it says that there was a group of individuals, a generation that grew up that did not know God. But then after that, it goes to Judges 17 that says that there were a group of people who did what was right in their own eyesight. And there was no standard, or there was no king. And so people did whatever they thought or they desired to do. And if it feels good, do it. And that's what happened. But then in Judges 19, the standard in society was so low that the society became very perverted. And we are seeing that today. That when we talk about being comfortable in captivity, there are good comforts, but then there are bad comforts. And being comfortable with the right temperature in the room is a good comfort. But to be comfortable flirting with the opposite sex if you're married, being comfortable flirting even with the same sex, we have to say today, it's a bad kind of comfort. And there has to be a standard where we're going to live our lives. And that standard must come based on, I believe, what our country was founded on. And it's a national treasure that needs to be rediscovered.